Hi. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to see so many people from so many different places, different temperatures. We are very delighted to welcome you to this new installment of the Meet the National Library series. My name is Olga Makarova. I'm a research specialist at the Slavic Reference Service at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. I'm joined by my colleagues, Joel Lenkert, Jan Adamczyk, and Catherine Arshkov today. And as probably some of you are aware, we are free year-round, open to everyone, a service that assists with bibliographic and reference questions and inquiries in all subject areas related to Slavic, East European, and Eurasian studies. We also do different types of programming and events, and we started this series, Meet the National Libraries, 2 years ago, to showcase the amazing work and projects that are done at national libraries, and to connect scholars and librarians with the services and collections that are available at national libraries, but also to be, able to see real faces behind all these projects and work done by national libraries around the world. And we were fortunate to feature Library of Congress, National Library of Singapore, National Library of the Czech Republic. In December, we had a webinar with the National Library of Poland. Now we are getting ready for a meeting with the Russian State Library in February 17th. So stay tuned for that. But today we're deeply honored that the Service Director of the National Library of Finland, Johanna, Lilja, and Director of Slavonic Library, Irma, Reijonen, kindly agreed to join us and to talk about the National Library of Finland, its services, its collections. And we thank you for this opportunity to hear about all the work that is done at the National Library of Finland. And so first we'll have presentation, and then we'll open up for Q&A, where you'll be able to unmute yourself and ask a question or write in the chat. We also have some questions from the registration form that I'll read if they're not covered or mentioned. For now, I ask everyone to mute themselves and enjoy. And Johanna and Irma, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Olga, and many thanks for inviting us here. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to meet colleagues, but particularly in these times of isolation. It's very valuable to meet you all and have an opportunity to discuss and to present our services. And I am Johanna Lilja, and I'm Service Director of the Research Library of National Library. And I have been working here 5 years, and before that I worked in the academic publishing branch for some time and in the National Board of Antiquities Library. And maybe Irma introduces herself. She has been working much longer in the National Library than me.
Yes, thank you, Johanna. Yes, my name is Irma Reijonen, and I'm working in the Slavonic Library. I have been working there quite a long time already, but now I'm also head of the unit which is developing our services for researchers, especially in the National Library. So I have that kind of dual role, and today I'll tell you more about the Slavonic Library collection, especially.
Thank you. And here, sorry. Can you now see the slide 2 content?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'm going to start by a short introduction of Finland and its book history, and then the history of our library and the tasks of our library. And then I go to the services we offer to other libraries, museums and archives. And that's not the area I'm specialist in, neither Irma, but I think it's useful to tell something to you what we are doing in this branch. And if you have more questions, we can later forward them to our specialists and answer them afterwards. And then we tell you something about our interface Finna and the National Bibliography, and then move to our collections and the digitizing, and then the Slavonic library. And last, we discussed our services to public normally and in this COVID-19 situation we are living now. And finally, we shall speak a little about our new research services and research partnerships. We received your questions, some of them only yesterday, and unfortunately it was too late to integrate all of them to this presentation, but please ask them again or ask us afterwards if you want, if you want to get answers to these questions in our presentation. But now we shall start about introduction to Finland in brief. Finland is a large country, but not very many inhabitants. There are 5.5 million of us, and our national languages are Finnish and Swedish, and it's about 5% minority of Finns that speaks Swedish as their native language. The original minorities in Finland are Sami, Romani, Jews, and Tatars. And from the 1990s on, we have had many immigrants from Russia, Estonia, Balkan area, Somalia, and Iraq. And Finland is a republic, and it's a member of the European Union, and our capital is Helsinki. Then some milestones of book history and the history of Finland in general. From the Middle Ages to the year 1809, Finland was part of Sweden, and that's when our book history began in 1488, when Missale Aboense was published in Lübeck in Germany. And the picture here is a page from Missale. It was a Latin book that told how the masses should be organized. And the history of literature in Finnish language began in 1540s when Mikael Agricola, he was also a reformator of religion in Finland, wrote his ABC book and later New Testament in Finnish. The first university was founded in 1640 in Turku, which was capital of Finnish provinces at the time. And there also the first printing house was founded in 1642. And the first newspaper, it was in Swedish, appeared in 1771. Last year we had 250th anniversary of our newspaper production. Then after actually during the Napoleonic Wars began our Russian era, and it continued until the Russian Revolution 1917. And that was an important period in the history of learning and history of book. There was a great fire in Turku, and soon after that the university and the capital was moved to Helsinki, and also our library moved same time. And then the first academic journals and series started to appear in 1840s. In 1870, Alexis Kivi's Seven Brothers was published, and it was the first remarkable novel in Finnish. And it started an era with increasing variety of authors, publishers, printers, and also many newspapers appeared. The last decades of the Russian era are called as a golden age of Finnish culture in literature and in music and in art. And then our independent time began in December 1917, and the particular milestones I have not written there had happened a lot, but the first steps were taken during the Swedish and Russian times. Then the history of our library. This picture is from Turku, from the old time, and we were the library of the Royal Academy of Turku in the year 1614 to 1827, and that was the year of Great Fire of Turku, which burnt the library and almost all of its collections. The university moved to Helsinki and was renamed Imperial Alexander University, according to Tsar of Russia. And that's how it was until the year 1990, and library was, of course, Library of Imperial Alexander University. And then it turned to be Library of the University of Helsinki, and that period lasted to 2006. And then we became National Library. Of course, we had National Library duties even before that, but then the two libraries systems of university were separated. The old faculty libraries were joined to form the Helsinki University Library, which is now another institute in the university which serves the information needs of the university researchers. And we are the National Library, an independent institute still in the University of Helsinki, and we take care of the National Library tasks. That is a bit complicated, but I hope I can give you a clue of this. Here's the picture of the oldest building of our library, the so-called Engel building. It became ready in 1840 and opened in 1845, and it's still our main building in Helsinki, but it's not enough. The library has widened a lot. The second building built to our purposes was Rotunda in 1904. It started the building and it was ready in 1907. And this beautiful building was originally built to be a book storage, and it was open to the public only in the late 1970s. When it was ready, it was much criticized. It was considered it's very ugly compared to the Engel building, which was an appreciated and classical, and this was modern and not so much valued. But today it's one of our most visited places in Helsinki. We have, in normal time, we have very many tourists who want to take pictures and enjoy the architecture. Later, we have widened, and these days there are university departments, chemistry and pharmacy departments, which have turned to be our space premises, and our workers work there, and Slavonic library is there. And then we have a digitizing unit, which is located in Mikkeli in eastern Finland. And our book storages are under the underground storages below this main building. Then to our tasks. We are responsible for the accumulation, bibliographic description, preservation, and availability of the national published heritage. Furthermore, we function as the guiding force for the entire library section, and we work closely with museums, galleries, and archives. Our collections are available for all, and there are 220 employees in the library. And our vision is very short. It's building at the heart of the society. And now I'm going to tell the ways how we try to reach this vision. One of the aims, means to reach our vision is to offer services to other organizations who which work towards same goals. And we offer services for library network, museums and archives. And here's a short list of them. We have Melinda, which is collaborative environment for cataloging. That means that other libraries can copy records from Melinda, or if they cannot be copied, they can make their own records there and other can copy them. So it makes cataloging work a lot easier. It's a national bank of bibliographic records. Then we host Finto service. Finto is an ontology platform where there are thesaurian ontologies which are linked data and open for all, and it helps those that do classification or the indexing for the library material. Then Finna is a user interface for all Finnish libraries, museums and archives, and I tell you more in the next slide. And FinELIP, National Licensing Office for Electronic Material. So all research libraries and academic libraries use FinELIP when they want to license material, and FinELIP negotiates also open access publishing terms with universities. Koha is an open source library system which we offer for other libraries. It's not free, but we charge only the costs of our work, and also our own library system is Koha. We adopted it in 2019. And then a few words of Finna, and actually of three Finna. Finna is a service we offer to other libraries, museums and archives. They can have their own Finna instances and their own Finna search services. Then we have finna.fi, which is a common interface for all Finna instances. And for users, it offers access to publications, documents, pictures, etc. And then our own search service is one of the Finna instances, and it's here in this picture, the first page of it, the landing page. Then a few words of the Finnish National Bibliography, which you can find in our Finna search service. The National Bibliography describes materials published or distributed in Finland, deposited to the National Library of Finland under the Act of Collecting and Preserving Cultural Materials. And the National Bibliography includes 3 databases. Fennica is a bibliography for books from Missale Apoense 1488 series, audiovisual materials and maps and electronic materials. Then Viola, this is Finnish pronunciation, it's Viola, and it is the Finnish National Discography, and it has references on Finnish sound recordings since 1901 and Finnish sheet music since 1977. And then the newest database in National Bibliography is Kanto, and it's a national agent data and contains the standard name forms of agents who are the authors or subjects of the materials published in Finland. Then to our collections. National collection is the core of our collection. It's our legal duty to sustain this collection. In addition to it, we have a research library for humanities, and that is history, literature studies, philosophy, art history, music studies, and Russian and Eastern European studies. This collection consists mainly on books, but we have also licensed e-journals, and recently we have started to support open access publishers, and that's how we receive open access books and mark records on them to our search service. Why we license so few is because the university library is responsible for licensing to the needs of the University of Helsinki. And we are just now trying to find out if there are good practical ways to license material from publishers to national use. But we are just piloting this with 2 publishers. And we don't know if there are very many who are willing to license to the whole nation. And that's our main problem currently. Our collections include over 6 million items, and they are sound recordings, ephemera, map, sheet music, posters, and manuscripts, and of course books and journals and newspapers. In shelf kilometers, it is 115 shelf kilometers. The first law for legal deposit was stated in 1707, but even before that we have gathered Finnish material and we have quite complete collections, which we are actually now digitizing the oldest part, the Swedish time part of this Fennica collection. The Finnish Sound Archive began in 1981, and also it has done a good work of having backlist, and we have nearly a comprehensive collection from 1901 onwards. And then e-material is available in legal deposit workstations in the library, and there are web archive which started in 2006, and it includes all .fi websites, media, news, YouTube videos, blogs, and for 2 years we have deposit Twitter accounts, those Twitter accounts that are public, mainly of politicians and Twitter influencers and administrative bodies' Twitter accounts. And then there are electronic books and journals and electronic music available in legal deposit workstations. We digitize mainly our national collections. There are some material we have chosen from other collections, but our idea is to digitize the unique collections, and we consider that there is no one else who is responsible of digitizing Finnish books and journals, and that's why we have chosen to digitize mainly the national collection. The volume is 2 million sites annually, and mainly the newspapers take the major part of the digitizing. We have published our digitization program for this 4-year period, and it defines the material we aim to digitize. And I must say this is very ambitious. We are now a bit horrified if we can make it all, but we do our best. We digitize with our budget funding, but we also receive a lot of external funding from foundations and from media houses and publishers who want to have their own journal or newspaper digitized. Then they fund us and we make it together, and we negotiate with the copyright organization how this material can be opened. There is a separate interface for digital collections. It's called digikansalliskirjasto.fi, and it differs from Finna that in Digi interface you can search to the content of the digitized material, while in Finna you can search the metadata of the material. In Digi collections there are 22 million pages, And last year we had 21.5 million page loads, and that was a huge number for us. It was 63% increase compared to the year 2020. In digital is copyright-free material and material we have licensed to be open for everyone or for researchers. And then there is in-copyright material which users can use only at legal deposit workstations in the library. In addition to national collection and research collection, we also have special and manuscripts collections. The most famous and valuable of our collections are cartographical collections of A.E. Nordenskiöld, which has very, not quite complete, but very large collections of Ptolemaic maps from the Middle Ages. And the Library of Radziwiłł family also has many incunabula and Middle Age material. And these first two are included in the Memory of the World Register. We also have medieval fragments and most of the handwritten medieval books in Finland. And then we have an archive and manuscript collections, and archives accumulate regularly. Annually, we have new archives of prominent Finnish figures in science, research, music, and culture. Then Irma will continue. I stop for a while. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Let's give Johanna a break, and I'll continue with this Slavonic library, and then I'll tell in some words about our services to public, and then this COVID pandemic, how we have coped with it, and what kind of changes there has been in our services. Slavonic library is some kind of library in the National Library, but we are situated in this same premises as Johanna told you. It's the same entrance and same service desk our readers are using, but we have our own information desk, which helps people to find and use the collections. Maybe you are quite familiar of the history, but I think it is still worth of mentioning that this Slavonic collection started as a Russian collection or a Russian library, because when Finland was a Grand Duchy of the Russian Empire, we got legal deposit copies also from Russian. There were not many libraries who got that right, and the Helsinki University Library was one of them. And now this collection is part of the National Library collections. We think we are some kind of a little sister of Russian National Library and State Library, because our collection is, of course, it's not so complete, but it still offers sufficient amount of different kind of publications from Russia, from the 19th century and the beginning of 20th century. So we can support the researchers in their studies, offering them newspapers, journals, books, maps, picture materials, and so. We have also rare book collection, but that is not, of course, the history of the rare books are a little bit different. mostly they have came to us by donations, as some of the manuscripts also. And we have collected some archives also from personal archives from Russian people living in Finland. So part of the Russian-Finnish history is foundable in these archival collections. I think you want to know how you can access, how you can find them. Most of our collections are cataloged in this search service, so they are findable and searchable in the National Library's interface. Only the newspapers and rare books, manuscripts, and archives have a separate digitized printed catalog, which you can find on our webpage. So not everything is foundable in the search service, and you have to ask us for advice, and we check in our card catalog. Of course, we are all the time working with the retrospective cataloging, but it's of course takes time to get everything done. After this legal deposit period, it ended when Finland gave an independent country, and quite soon after that, on the 1920s, the library started to collect Russian, also immigrant publications, and from 50s also all other Slavonic languages. In the legal deposit collection, we have Russian and Polish books in Polish, but other Slavonic languages are gathered mainly by exchange programs which were established after the Second World War. And nowadays our acquisitions per year are around 2,500 titles per year, and we have also licensed some e-resources which might be familiar to you. I mean, Integrum and Eastview newspaper archives and so. So Johanna, please, next slide. The library got not only publications in Russian and in Polish, but also in other languages spoken in Russian Empire. And these collections are formed by language and named by the language in which the publications are. Here you see the list, and I think if you are interested in them, you can find more information on our web pages, for example, by searching by this collection names, Russica, Persica, Lituanica, and so on. Unfortunately, the state of cataloging varies a lot. Some of the collections are not catalogued at all, or they have only a card catalog, which is accessible in the special reading room. Of some bigger collections, for example, Georgica and Lettonica, there is a printed catalog which we have digitized, and they can be found on our web pages. So if you are interested in this part of collection, please consult our collection descriptions on the web page, and send us email and ask more information. The next slide, please. Okay, now I turn to the services, and it's not only the Slavonic library services, but the whole National Library services. We are open for everyone, for every user who needs to read and to find information from our collections. The usage is free of charge, and the foreign visitors do not need a recommendation letter or some kind of permission to work in our library. It is open and free use for everyone. Most of our users are academic researchers and students from universities, mainly from the Helsinki University, but also various professionals, journalists, people working in museums and archives are using, and also citizens who are interested in their own family history or the local history. They find a lot of interesting materials in the national collection. Here in the picture, you see the Rotunda open shelves collection, where the research literature is, part of the research literature is located. But you must always remember that 90% of collections is in closed stacks where you have to order them. You have to make a request, and nowadays it's possible to do via internet, via our search interface, or by registering with the card catalog, with the library card. But if you don't have a card, you can send email and request beforehand when you are planning a visit to the library. So it's very much advised to send email before, and you can get materials faster and get them ready when you are coming to visit the library. We give from the research literature collection, we give home loans also from the Slavonic collection. It's possible to get books to home and use them there. But of course, national collection and rare book collections and special collections are only usable in special reading room. Then next slide. We have interlibrary services on both sides, borrowing and lending. And we are borrowing mainly from the National Repository Library, which is located in Eastern Finland. But of course, when there is a need to have copies or loans from other countries, we try to find where it's located and borrow it to our readers. And our lending activities, we are either lending a book or publication, or we can make a copy of articles or pictures or some part of the book and send them to the library. Unfortunately, we do not have that kind of document delivery system that we could send directly to users. It always happens between the libraries. So you have to consult your own library and ask them to send us a request for a loan or for a copy. And here in the slide, you see a direct address to the form by which this loan request can be done. And we are sending materials to all parts of the world, including states, USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, just to mention the main directions we have been sending materials from our library. And then next. Okay, then we moved to this pandemic because we were asked to tell a little bit about how we have been working during this COVID-19 exceptional years. And of course, we have we have had to change our modes of working, and library staff has been working remotely for some months in the 2020 when it all started, and we have moved meetings, seminars to webinars, and we have had online conferences, not so many of them, but the main, for example, this annual library network days is it's every year in October, and for 2 years it has been online meeting. Before it was 2 days seminar in Helsinki, but now it's, I don't know how we'll continue. Maybe we try to mix up this two modes, to work remotely and have face-to-face meetings also. Also with this GLAM sector, galleries, libraries, archives and museums, we have organized some special webinars on research, for example, about research data, how we manage with it, and what kind of questions there are. We have organized training sessions for this digital service, how to use it, and we have take part in the Science Forum and Night of Science, which are the big events which we have been participating for many years, but now we have had to move them to online mode. And we managed to open exhibition last summer when library was open and people could access, but we couldn't organize an opening ceremony face to face, but it was in online. And so next slide. Then the services. As Johanna already mentioned, the use of digital materials has increased. I think that's the common thing that happened everywhere, because readers couldn't visit the library, and they didn't, even when the library was open, they didn't want to visit because they were staying at home and working remotely from there. So our figures are going down, and we are now very excited to know how this will continue, what kind of modes of using library will remain, and are people expecting more and more digital material from us, or are they coming back to the library and work in the reading rooms? We'll see how that will be. For the library staff working remotely, it was quite a fruitful period, quite a useful period, because we could do some planning and learning, which we didn't have time when the library is open, and part of our staff is, of course, involved in the library services. Now we opened a chat service. We had plans for that even before COVID, but now we really started it. And we also made the library card registration available on a web. So that kind of reacted to the situation that people can't come to the library, or they can't stay there. They can pick up their loans, but they can't work in the reading rooms. And of course, the international visitors, international guests didn't come for 2 years, and especially for the Slavonic Library, this is quite a big question. Are they coming back, or are they staying at home and waiting for more digital material and working with that material which is already digitized? For professional visits, we are planning that they could be that we could organize some visits in May this year, but we'll see. We hope now that the situation is now getting more normal, and we are now thinking that we can keep the library open this spring and summer. And of course, we are hoping that next autumn we could end all limitations we have, all restrictions we have, but that's something we don't know yet. But if someone is now planning a visit to Helsinki and to our library, so I think you can proceed with the with your trip and book flights and so. But of course, there might be some rapid changes in our services, or how you can access, how you can come to Finland. And then I think my last slide is the next one. Yes, I said that we are a little bit worried about is the international guests coming to library back, and how we keep those users who have been working in the Slavonic Library, how we can keep them aware of services and changes, and what new services we have, or when we are open and when we are closed. And so we have a newsletter which we send by email, and you can subscribe the newsletter. The instructions for subscription is on this research guide for Russian and East European studies, which is a LibGuide platform, on LibGuide platform. So there you find the information how you can subscribe this newsletter. I think it's very useful because we try 4 times a year tell something about our services and what's new and what is the situation. But the really tricky task is to reach new users, potential users, and how we can, I think this kind of webinars are one way to tell about us and to reach potential users. And I also hope that this other libraries can after this tell more exactly what if it's worthwhile to come to Helsinki or to visit our web pages and so. And of course we have social media communication, but it's mainly in Finnish, and I think it's not a good, for example, our Instagram or the Facebook of the National Library. I think it's, maybe we need our own, the Slavonic Library needs our own channels in social media. I'd like to hear your responses or your thoughts to this kind of questions. We have also one video presentation on YouTube, so we have started already doing this kind of marketing, you say, or communication. Okay, then I think, Johanna, it's the floor back to you.
Okay,
the
thank you.
next slide is.
Or maybe I go one back and introduce this. Oh, I can't go back, so this is not moving. So, but the all you saw in the previous slide is the figure in our library card, and we like him a lot. So, and now he's wearing mask and he's pretty sad. But then Irma said that we had time to plan things and plan new services, and that was a good thing in this COVID-19 period. And the last slides of our presentation are on this, our new thinking and new services and things we are developing now. And one thing that is central in our new strategy is offering data for researchers. And it has many features we have to tackle. Some of them we are good at, and some of them we need a lot of information. And one of the last is how we should describe our data. How do we tell researchers what does the data include and what are its properties? That's what we are working on now. Just today we had a workshop to discuss on these matters. Then we have to know what to do with the tools for loading and analyzing data, which researchers are developing all the time. How should we take hand of them, preserve them with our systems, or should they be deposited to somewhere else? And right now we have started a new project. We are building a new infrastructure, a so-called Finklaria infrastructure, together with the universities and the Center of Scientific Computing. And the idea is that this Finklaria should be a pool where all cultural heritage organizations deliver their data to, and the researchers can use computing and artificial intelligence, develop algorithms to handle this data, and they also can deposit their tools and codes and everything in this infrastructure. But this is just in the beginning, so I hope I can tell you more on this after 2 years when this first phase of this project is over. We have also been very active in getting more involved in research projects, and we have learned that researchers are not familiar with our library thinking. They are not so interested in metadata, they do not know copyrights, etc. And we are not familiar with research methods and the opportunities they offer. So still a lot of discussion and a lot of collaboration is needed. And in our new websites, we encourage researchers to make initiative of shared research projects, and we also encourage our librarians and information specialists to find project partners. We have thought these research services as steps, and the lowest step here includes basic library services for all researchers and others. There are collections, information services, reading rooms. Researchers can also book a research carrel, shelf and locker and have a regular seat in the library for a year. Then there are digital resource self-services, and we have a data catalog and national bibliography and so on. Then if this first step is not enough, research can ask us more data curation or us to help him or her with our special expertise with our collections. And if he or she needs more than the usual service, we can write a letter of commitment to his or her project or funding applications and commit to the research that we shall offer the researcher something more than we offer the usual customers. Then the next step is where we have so much common interests with a researcher that we take a shared research project. We take part in the funding application and work together with the project. This might be, for instance, a project that enriches our collection, enriches our metadata, or uses our tools and develops our tools in the research. And Annif mentioned here is a robot that indexes material automatically, and it has aroused some interest. And then the last step and highest step is residence. And we are just now piloting our first residence, so we don't know much yet. But the idea is that when a researcher needs material that is in copyright or physical material that is vulnerable and cannot be used in reading room, or it should be used another way that a reading room use allows, then we can be employers of this researcher. He comes or she comes for us as a worker and gets our instruction how to work with us, and we can also control his or her work as an employer. And that's quite new idea. It's not self-evident. There's a lot to find out before we can start this as a regular service, but we are very interested to pilot all the features this needs. Then we have a short list of research projects that are now going on. This is our particular pride, the first one of them. This is Books of Medieval Parish Church, and it's a project of our own information specialist, Jaakko Tahkokallio. And there the researchers study the provenience of medieval manuscript fragments in our collections. These fragments were found in 17th century ledger books, where they were put after the Reformation, when Catholic manuscripts were not valuable anymore. And this is very interesting project and give a lot of information of our own collections. Then something totally different. The next generation Finnish language models is a project which aims at training language models. They are tools, for instance, in automatic translation programs. The researchers are using the material of our web archive and our legal deposits e-books. And this is difficult material because of the copyright. It's extremely restricted material, but they solved the question by changing the text to vector formatted training examples. And that's how we could offer the material to research use. And this is still going on. We don't know the results, but it has been very interesting to discuss with them and learn how we can offer in copyright material to researchers. Then the last project is Translocalis, and it focuses on our digital newspaper collections, and particularly the so-called local letters of 19th century newspapers. And the project will build an open database of local letters, and we considered that this database might also interest other users of our digital collections, for instance, family researchers and genealogists and people interested in the history of their own localities. Then Irma will continue on the projects in the Slavonic library.
Yes, thank you. So also in the Slavonic library, we have had some very fruitful projects with researchers. And one of them, it was, I think, maybe 8 or 7 years ago, when our quite a small collection of Russian avant-garde books, Russian futurist books were digitized, and that digitizing was funded by the research project, which very much needed them. And as you know, that this kind of books, they are unique, and the collection is unique, though they have been printed, but there is some part of there is handcraft work. So they are not all the examples are not, all the copies are not similar. So it's very interesting to compare, for example, a copy of one book in British Library or in our Slavonic collection. They also, this research project, of course, published many articles and translations of these futurist books to Finnish. And now the same Professor Tomi Huttunen, continued with a project of translations of Russian literature to Finnish and Finnish literature to Russian. And they have been using the digital newspapers in this in our Digi service, and they have found translations which we haven't been aware before, which are not included in any bibliographies, or there are translators no one knew about before this. And they made a bibliography of these translations, and this bibliography will be published in our search portal, in our search service this year. I think it will be ready. And also they have been working with translations of Finnish literature to Russian. So they have used in Russian libraries and found translations of Finnish novels, poems, and so in Russian newspapers and book collections. So the researchers have done the data gathering, and we are doing the cataloging work in our library system, and it will be published as a bibliography in our portal. Of course, they are writing books and research articles of the findings, and they are interpreting this data, but this data will be available for everyone after this project. And then this last slide will be about the Fenno-Ugrica collection. Johanna, please change. This is a big project worthwhile mentioning, because there were several libraries involved in this. The idea was to digitize from the Russian National Library collection publications in Finno-Ugric languages, in Uralic languages. And this was done by the foundation, funding from Kone Foundation. And the initiative for this project came from the researchers, from the Finnish researchers in Finno-Ugrian studies and Finno-Ugrian languages. And the copyrights were cleared in cooperation with the National Library resources in Moscow. It took several years to have this all done, but the result is, I must say that it's quite heavily used, this Fenno-Ugrica search portal. Users come around the world, mainly from Russia, of course, but also the other researchers from Europe, from Japan, have found this portal very useful, and it is maintained by our library. So I wanted to end this with this special project because it shows one part of the survival kit of the Slavonic Library and its cooperation and collaboration, especially with researchers, but also with other libraries. And then, Johanna, you may conclude our presentation now.
Thank you, Irma. This was everything we had on slides, and thank you for your interest, and we are very excited what questions there are in the chat now, and please ask anything you want. If we cannot answer it, Irma and me, then we shall find out and answer you later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johanna and Irma. There's a lot of information. We all might need some time to process that. But yes, it's a good time for questions. I think there's one in chat. Is Canto in use only at the National Library or for all GLAM sector?
Canto is openly available on our website, so I think you can use it too, and it has an English interface as well. And if you find information that is not correct, you can write to the service address and make it correct. So it's quite recently open, wasn't it a year ago? Do you remember, Irma?
I think it was a year ago when they opened it, and it's opened as open data, so you can even download the whole database.
All right, so next question is if you could shortly talk about library education in Finland.
Oh, it's a long time I had a library education, but we have 3 university departments in Tampere, Oulu, and a Swedish-speaking education of information studies in Turku. And I think it's when I was studied in 1990s, the internet was a novelty, and it was very exciting that the education was focused on information search and information retrieval, and it was a lot of mathematics you needed. But I think these days it's something totally different. I don't know, Irma, you have done postgraduate studies. Do you know better?
Okay, yes. They are not anymore calling it library and information science, but it's information science and interactive media. So this education has been a little slightly moved away from the library institutions, but it's about the organizing information, offering it. And of course, many students there, they become librarians in different kind of libraries. And there are also, I think, 2 or 3, maybe only 2 at the moment, polytechnic polytechnics which give the library and information education. One in Turku and one in Seinäjoki. It's in the western part of Finland. And then there is a professional teaching too. And for example, at the moment we have one student who is doing professional studies to library and information services. She is doing her studies in our library. So it's possible to work and study at the same time, and they are combining this two sides. And I think it's quite a nice way to to recruit new people and to give the insight what the profession of in the library, what kind of professions there are, what kind of things we do there.
Thank you. Yes, it's wonderful to have such a hands-on experience and work closely with the professionals and experienced professionals. Would you be fine with sharing maybe presentation, sending presentation to us so we can share it with everyone who registered?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We'll send that later.
Wonderful. Yes. So the recording and the slides will be available, and we'll send them to everyone who registered as soon as we have them. I guess both in the registration and now there were questions about in-person visits, and of course it's hard to, with this always changing situation, hard to predict, but I just wanted to verify that the Slavonic Library will not be accepting international researchers until at least May. Is that so?
No, we are open and all users can come. So you don't have wait to May. It was the professional visitors from libraries, which we think that would be possible to organize in May, but all visitors can come. But please contact us before you are coming. And there were also quite detailed questions about the collections, and I think there were some about the ballet in Russian and Soviet, and one was about the Tolstoy commemorating. I think we could answer them by email directly to those who have asked these questions, because they may be not so commonly interested.
Yes, that's a good idea. Would you mind typing in chat email that researchers can reach you at? Yes, and then there were some other questions more about your general collections, and if researchers have any specific questions or follow-up questions, what would be a good way to ask them? Not particularly about Slavic collection, but just other collections at the library.
We can add our emails to the presentation I sent, so you can ask us email.
Wonderful.
Or Irma put the service address to the chat, so you can also use that. The answer may be faster if you use that service address.
Great. The other question is, are you working with the Finnish libraries in the diaspora, especially in the US?
So far as I know, we do not have any particular collaboration with them.
Another question, is there a special collection of Finnish folklore materials? Can you talk about it briefly?
We do not have folklore materials. They are deposited in two other archives. There is a Finnish Literature Society archive, has the Finnish-speaking collection of folklore, and then Swedish Literature Society in Finland has Swedish folklore. They also have a small book archive, photograph archives and other archive material there.
Thank you. There was a question both in the chat and the registration about your cooperation and collaboration with other universities, for example, with the Moscow State University, Lomonosov Moscow State University.
Irma, there was collaboration at least during the Fenno Ugrica project? Maybe you can answer better than me.
Yes, we have a collaboration with Russian libraries, especially the National Library in St. Petersburg, State Library in Moscow, then also the Komi National Library, which we have visited several times, and then with the Lomonosov University, we are not cooperating so much with the library, but with some part of researchers. There are researchers of the social history, social and economic history, and there is a student group coming every year. The Professor Barotkin brings his seminar group to work in the Slavonic Library and in the National Archives in Finland. So that kind of cooperation we have, but and also of course this historical library, Историческая библиотека in Moscow. We are exchanging publications. Oh, there was also a question of book exchange. We have it, but not so large program as it used to be. It is possible to ask about us the exchange possibilities. They are not. We do not have so many publications we can send to you, but you may ask.
Thank you. So another question. I have found information on the legal deposit very interesting, especially in the view of war losses of Polish libraries. Actually, the book, the cover of which you put into presentation, does not seem to be available in any of Polish libraries. Is there a digital catalog or a database where you can easily create a list of Polish books, or whom should I contact?
Polish books of the legal deposit period is catalogued almost everything. So you could start with our library search interface and try to. There is a Slavonic collection, is one of the collections. You can start with entering with just enter. There you don't have to write any query there, and then you can use these facets and restrict the result or the search so that you find books written in Polish from the Slavonic collection. So I think that would be the first things to start, and then you can ask us if you don't find everything you need.
Thank you. Do you have a collection of the 19th century Russian children's book?
Unfortunately not, because at that time, it was at the end of 19th century, I think 1890s, when there was the collection grew very, very fast because in Russian they published a lot, and in library they had to decide that we can't keep them all. At that time we decided to give all children books and school books to kindergarten and schools, Russian schools in Finland. So we don't have, unfortunately, we don't have that kind of collection. We have got some of these books back as a donations, but it's not that kind of comprehensive collection of children books.
Thank you. So I think it's all questions from chat. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask by not typing, but maybe just unmuting and asking, or I can go over some questions that were in registration. Right, maybe let me see that what questions were not yet answered. Well, I guess one question that many libraries are kind of juggling right now, if you could talk a little bit about you know, what role the physical space plays in the library. Is it still important, or the digital space is more important? What do you think about this combination or balance of physical versus digital space?
We have such a beautiful building that we appreciate our physical space a lot. But of course, the importance is diminishing all the time, and particularly this COVID-19 period, when there have been months that you only could have used the digital collections, and digital services have diminished the value of the building. But I also think that we should be more innovative in changing the use of library building. There still are materials, everything cannot be digitized very fast. There's restricted capacity to digitize each year, and we still have a lot of analogical material which interests users. And there are also the legal deposit material, which by the copyright law are defined to be used only in the library premises. So we still need the library, and we should be more innovative how the space there can be used in more varied ways than nowadays. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And yeah,
if I may add some points which I have understood when I'm speaking with the especially researchers who are coming to work in the Slavonic library. Maybe they because they are very happy to be out of their normal situation of the emails and phone ringing and colleagues coming to their room and asking this and that. So I think the peace is one very essential part of the library premises, and the work in the library means that you can concentrate on what you are doing, and that's our readers are constantly complaining if we have some kind of cultural event there is a music in the central hall, and so people in the reading room say that it's nice music, but no, please don't do that. Give us a peaceful place to where to work and where to concentrate. And that's what we are trying to tell the students also, that that you have to concentrate when you have to read, when you have to write. The library reading room is a proper place for that kind of studying, and to have working sessions, work groups. It's a different thing, and we are trying to combine these two aspects, that you may have a meeting for the colleagues or for students doing the same study, but they must be separated.
And our cafeteria is also an important meeting place for our customers, and a general feedback during this COVID-19 period when the cafeteria had been closed is that when do you open the cafe? Even though we don't have any baristas there, we have only one coffee shop. That's all.
Yes, research work without coffee is almost impossible. Irma, you mentioned that there's a newsletter from the Slavic library, and it's in English, I assume.
Yes, it's in English. Yes, and it's especially for the international guests who are planning to come to work in our library or somehow connected to us. And please feel free to join, and you can also, if you know some researchers who are may be willing to join it, and you can give them advice to how to join in.
Definitely. And then there is also like more general library newsletter. Is it only in Finnish?
Johanna,
general news. We just opened a research newsletter, but I'm afraid it's only in Finnish.
Mm-hmm.
But the news on our websites are in English and in Swedish too.
Yes. That's helpful. One technical question or practical question. So you mentioned that for some materials in closed stacks, some form special collections, you have to place a request in order to, be able to have access to it and read at the library, at the reading room. How long does it usually take for the request to be processed? Like how far in advance should a researcher place this request before coming in?
Irma, you know better.
Yes, it's very advisable to because it depends a little bit on the collection and the material. For example, in Slavonic library, the newspapers, they are very big volumes, and it's prohibited to take them from the shelves alone. So we need 2 persons always to work in the stacks together and getting them out and bringing them up to the reading room. So we have a longer period for newspapers. Also the archival materials, which should be handled very carefully. It's a little bit longer, but it's the next day, we say that is the, if you order it in the morning, so you may get it already on the same day, but at least in the morning of the next day before 11 o'clock. That's the normal period for delivering materials. But of course, if there is no so many requests at the same time, you can get it even earlier. But for visitors coming especially for a short period, you can write us an email and ask us to take materials you need beforehand. We can handle these requests by email too, and we can prepare the material for you. And when you arrive to the library, everything is there on the in the reading room waiting for you.
Thank you. Wonderful. I'm waiting to see if there are any questions from the audience. I hope I'm not missing any questions from the registration form, but everyone will have your email. So if there are any specific questions, then they can be sent your way. There were some questions about future. What's your personal motivation for your future work in the library, and maybe what challenges in the future you envision?
The current challenge we discussed today is returning back to normal, and how we organize our working places, our right to work remotely, who are in the library, who are only at their homes, and how we have big buildings, but there's not enough space for everything, particularly if we have those research projects we aim to have, then we should have more places for project workers, and that's a big question, and the working culture in general. I suppose you all have the same worries. How can we work together? Or many of us have find it practical and good to work at home, even though we miss our colleagues, and that's a difficult question. Although it's very nice to think that hopefully. Maybe even in February or in March, we can again work together. Then these questions of data, they are new to us, and we have to work a lot and find international contacts and experiences, find out how other libraries have resolved these questions. These are big issues, and also linked open data in our services is one strong emphasis in our strategy. And our personal motivation, I think it's extremely fascinating to work in a place where you can join history and future every day. Although it's demanding, you have to know a lot and learn a lot every day, but it's very fascinating, and I just love this.
Yes, and for me, the personal motivation, I think nowadays it's more like in educating a new generation for new librarians, and because I've been working there quite a long time, and I'm not retiring next year, but there won't be many years before I retire. So I'm thinking of this silent information. For example, this documentation of what our catalogs contain and what they do not contain, and how this card catalog is composed. The new generation, they don't know because they haven't been working with it. I have been working with the card catalog, and I know the principles, how it was compiled. You may ask what's the point with the card catalog anymore, but still that was, especially the systematic or thematic catalog, it was a special way to organize knowledge. And we don't have that kind of tools anymore. We have, but we don't use them. We use the keywords. We don't have any kind of, we don't use UDC so much, or BBK as we had in the Slavonic library. So this kind of information which is nearly, which we are leaving behind. And I just want to point to it, and that maybe someday you could use that information, or you need that information. And when I realized that there aren't so many people in the library who know how we worked with catalogs before the current system, so I think that it's my task to tell them and to give an insight of the methods used before our current method.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your profound words and thoughts. It was just a big treat for all of us to hear from you. Johanna, is there anything you'd like to say, add? Or if there are any questions or comments?
Maybe I could add one motivation factor I have, that is our library's main task to promote the humanities studies, and there I come back to our vision, the Bildung at the heart of the society. And in these days when sciences are highly valued, and again, I come back to the COVID period, when we need medicine, we need vaccinations. And so we should not forget humanities studies, because we know now that we have vaccination, but we have also a lot of people who don't want it. And the natural sciences are not enough to solve all our problems. We need a ways to understand why humans behave such as they behave, and we need to understand history. We need to understand languages, literature, and cultural heritage is very important in this understanding. So I think that's one primus motor in our work, to promote this understanding and find means for researchers to help their work in humanities studies.
Indeed. Yes to that. Well, I guess we can conclude on this note and with this hope. It was, yes, very, very informative, very interesting. It was a great hearing from you and learning from you. And let me just stop the recording.